Yellowstone National Park is famous for its geysers, hot springs, and most importantly, its supervolcano. The Yellowstone supervolcano is one of the largest and most powerful in the world. It's responsible for creating the vast Yellowstone caldera, which stretches about 43 by 28 miles across. The park itself is well known for having many of the world's most incredible geothermal features. But outside of the park, boundaries are almost just as impressive. And to be honest, some are much more dangerous. Yellowstone isn't the only volcano in the area, not by a long shot. There are hundreds of small volcanoes surrounding it, all of them are potentially deadly. Of course, we will cover what is arguably the most dangerous volcano in the United States, but there are others that are just as likely to erupt again. Here are 5 volcanoes that should be feared even more than Yellowstone. Number 5. Mount Mazama. Mount Mazama is located within Crater Lake National Park in southern Oregon. If you've never seen it before, take a look at this. It looks like a normal mountain, but it's far from it. In fact, it's actually a giant caldera, similar to the one at Yellowstone. More than 7,700 years ago, a volcanic eruption here created the deepest lake in the United States. Eruptions from Mount Mazama have produced rhyolite, ignimbrite, and obsidian. Obsidian is a naturally occurring volcanic glass that can be incredibly sharp. The United States Geological Survey believes that there is still magma beneath the surface of Mount Mazama, meaning that it could erupt again. At some point in the future, the area around Crater Lake sees about 400,000 visitors each year. So if the volcano were to erupt while people were there, it would be devastating. Evacuation orders would likely be given beforehand, but if people didn't get out in time or chose to stay behind, they would face the wrath of one of America's deadliest volcanoes. No. 4. Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier is an active stratovolcano in Washington state. It towers over the surrounding landscape and is visible from many places in the Pacific Northwest. However, it's not really the looming presence that many believe it to be. Mount Rainier is the most glaciated peak in the contiguous United States with 25 major glaciers and many more minor ones. These glaciers pose a serious threat to the people living in the valleys below. If Mount Rainier were to erupt, mudflows called lahars would cascade down its slopes, burying everything in their path. Mount Rainier is highly monitored because of the danger it poses to the nearly 1 million people who live within its 176,000 square mile danger zone. An eruption would have a catastrophic effect on the surrounding areas. Tacoma, Washington, located about 30 miles away, would likely be buried under a layer of ash. Seattle, Washington would also experience significant damage. As a major city, it would have trouble functioning after such a disaster. Even places as far away as Portland, Oregon, and Boise, Idaho, would feel the effects of an eruption. A scientific study published in 2011 found that Mount St. Helens was originally thought to be the most dangerous volcano in the United States. This is based on its proximity to population centers. However, research has found that Mount Rainier is actually twice as dangerous as Mount St. Helens, and 4 times as dangerous as Mount Shasta. If Mount Rainier were to erupt, thousands would likely lose their lives. No. 3. Mount Hood. Mount Hood is another volcano in the Pacific Northwest. Like Mount Rainier, Mount Hood is a stratovolcano. In fact, it's considered a composite volcano because it was formed by layers of lava, tephra, pumice, and volcanic ash. Mount Hood sits about 50 miles south of Portland, Oregon. The volcano has been covered in snow for centuries. Its snowy peak makes it a popular place for skiers and snowboarders, but it's not always safe. During the winter of 1790 to 1791, a series of heavy snowfalls blanketed the mountain. This led to an avalanche that swept through the valleys below. In total, 23 people lost their lives in the disaster. Since then, there have been several smaller eruptions of Mount Hood, but nothing too serious. In 1909, the United States Geological Survey began monitoring the volcano. They did this because it posed a serious risk to the nearby town of Hood River. Since then, scientists have learned a lot about the volcano. They know that the glaciers on its slopes could melt during an eruption, causing dangerous lahars. They also know that ash could cover large parts of Oregon and Washington if it were to erupt violently. Number 2, Mount St. Helens. In 1980, Mount St. Helens erupted. It was the most deadly eruption in the history of the United States. 57 people lost their lives during the event. It was so powerful that it wiped out an entire mountainside. Today it looks like this. But before the eruption, it looked like this. Mount St. Helens is located in southwestern Washington state. It is considered to be the most active volcano in the Cascade volcanic arc. It is one of several volcanoes in the region that stretch from British Columbia to California. For centuries, Native American tribes told stories of the mountain. They believed that it was the home of the Sky People. However, the mountain soon gained a darker reputation. On May 18, 1980, a magnitude 5.1 earthquake struck the mountain. This caused a rock slide on its north slope. 3 days later, the U.S. Geological Survey recorded a series of smaller earthquakes near the mountain. Then, on May 15th, a steam explosion occurred. This blew off the top of the mountain and caused pyroclastic flows to rush down its slopes. The eruption column reached 12 miles up into the air. Ash was carried by winds as far away as Montana and Canada. The blast radius was about 230 square miles. Everything in that area was either burned, buried, or blown away. While the eruption was devastating, it did allow scientists to learn more about volcanoes. Before the eruption, they had little understanding of how they worked. The eruption changed all of that. Today, the area around Mount St. Helens is a national monument. Visitors come from all over the world to see the damage left behind by the 1980 eruption. No. 1. Long Valley Caldera. The Long Valley Caldera is located in eastern California. It is one of the largest volcanic complexes in the United States. In fact, it is one of the largest in the world. The Long Valley Caldera covers an area of about 500 square miles. That's larger than New York City. The caldera was formed over a period of several 100,000 years. It is thought to have formed from a series of eruptions that took place between 800,000 and 148,000 years ago. The most recent eruption was about 76,000 years ago. It released about 600 cubic miles of material. To put that number into perspective, the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens released about 1.2 cubic miles of material. So the Long Valley Caldera eruption was about 500 times more powerful. The Long Valley Caldera is one of the most active volcanic regions in the United States. It is closely monitored by the United States Geological Survey. Scientists are especially interested in the potential for a large earthquake to occur in the region. If this were to happen, it could cause significant damage to the nearby towns of Mammoth Lakes and Bishop. In addition, a large eruption could have global implications. For example, a major eruption during World War III could cause widespread crop failures and lead to famine. While this may sound far-fetched, it is important to remember that the Long Valley Caldera is one of the most active volcanoes in the world. It has the potential to cause massive devastation on a local, regional, and global scale. Now it's time to make your voice heard. Comment below which of these volcanoes you think is the scariest. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more just like it, be sure to check out more content. With that said, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the